Recording 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, everybody. This is John Malmstrom with Telguard, and we have another in our series of interviews with folks that are connected with the world of commercial fire. As you may know from listening to earlier interviews, the goal of these interviews is to really help kind of develop a living document, if you will, of how to grow and be successful in commercial fire, and we're looking at that subject from a multitude of different perspectives. And today we have yet another perspective that I'd like to share with you. We're very lucky today to have with us Mr. Andy Boyd. He is with a integrator by the name of IPS. They're based out of the Cincinnati, Ohio area, as well as a Columbus, Ohio office, and have been working with, I've been working with IPS for a number of years now. And we're certainly very appreciative of having, as I said, Mr. Andy Boyd with us. Andy, how are you today?
I'm terrific. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. I thought we'd get started, if you don't mind. Maybe just give the folks that are listening just kind of an overview, a bit of an overview of IPS and kind of their involvement with the commercial fire world. And then if you wouldn't mind, maybe just touch a little bit on your background and kind of what your role with IPS is there now.
Sure. So IPS has been a commercial integrator since we incorporated in 2000. So we're going on close to 20 years in business. We are we have about 80 employees. We have an office, as you said, in Cincinnati and Columbus. We do about a third of our business in fire, a third access control, a third CCTV. We're about a $24 million business. So that's kind of our nutshell. We work regionally. Think about a 2.5-hour window around Cincinnati and Columbus is kind of our footprint. Although we do some special projects pretty much anywhere within the United States for special customers. As far as my role, I'm the president of the company. We started it from scratch in 2000 with 3 employees, and 0 sales. So that's kind of the background. We rolled off. We spun out of an electrical contractor, and we were a piece of an electrical contractor that found that we couldn't get the service piece from the bigger national companies when it was crunch time that we needed. So that company took it in-house, and when that company did a national roll-up, those guys came to us and said, "Hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to get rolled up into this buyout, or what do you want to do?" And one of my partners and I said, "Hey, we think we can make this work." And with a couple other guys' help, we spun it out. So that's what happened back in 2000.
Fantastic. So as part of that, envisioning the new company and moving forward, what was the mindset behind or the decision-making process to get involved with commercial fire?
Well, the process, really the thought process was that, we thought we could do it better than the big boys. At least locally, we felt like our customer service, we could deliver better customer service, and that was our niche. So that we went up and set up shop, thinking, hey, we could go do this. Now, that sounded great, sitting around a table, and sounds easy, does hard, and we definitely had our work cut out for us once we went out and got into the real world. But that was the thought process.
Okay. So when you guys were starting in commercial fire, kind of working through that initial phase and kind of getting your feet wet in it, I'm curious the kind of issues that you ran into, and really from two perspectives. Maybe if there were ones that you kind of thought you were going to have to deal with, and you did. And then I'm also curious, were there any, as you were getting started, any issues that you really didn't expect, and how did you deal with those?
Sure. So let's start with the things we expected. First of all, we felt like so in our region, about 70% of the decisions to buy commercial fire are made by electrical contractors. So the fact that we spun out of an electrical contractor, we knew that most of our customers were going to feel like we were a competitor, and we had to change that mindset because we weren't. We were a brand new business, and we had to break that thought process. So that took us a while. We had to get those same customers and anybody new, so the end user or anybody we did business with, to trust us and get us to believe that we're going to be around tomorrow. You know, any new business, especially in fire, that, you know, who's going to service this after you put it in? We had to get them to believe that we were going to be around, especially when you're specifying a new product to an engineer. Because their neck's on the line when they're putting this in a specification. They want to make sure that their service provider is going to be around to take care of the customer. So those things we had to overcome. And so those were the primary things we knew we had to take care of. So then things we didn't expect. I mean, business is hard. It was a grind, 16-hour days, lots of disappointments, lots of people saying no. Hey, come back when you've been in business 3 years. The balance between keeping customers happy and, you know, saying no, you know, an EC saying, hey, I'm ready, come on out and get this thing going, but they're not ready. You know, a panel being full of ground faults, or not having power to the panel yet, or having phone lines ready yet, or not having the central station monitoring set up, but them telling you that it is, and then how do you deal with billing them for that, or basically handling that situation. The balance of workloads, like figuring out, hey, these guys are going, you need to have 24-hour service. Who's going to take care of that? You know, if you have one technician when you start, it's kind of hard to have him be on call 24 hours at a time. The fact that you're working all day to try to get new business. Sometimes you had to work in the field to help put it in. You had to help engineer it. You know, so the balancing of all those workloads and who did what. We didn't realize how important RMR was to our business in 2000. So we let a lot of easy monitoring and testing go to other people. We didn't go after that early, which was a huge mistake. And I wish we would have done that differently. Took us a few years to figure out, hey, we need to be going after this. Setting up processes early, we didn't do that well. I mean, heck, just even trying to find an attorney and an accountant, simple laws and regulations, understanding that different jurisdictions may have a city ordinance that says, a duct detector is going to come in as a supervisory here, but as an alarm here. And understanding those things, health insurance, 401ks, those kind of things, we didn't have a clue, and we had to figure all that out. So that kind of gives you the difference between things we expected and then when you're going into business for the first time, things you have no clue about.
Absolutely. And obviously you were able to overcome those challenges, being successful as you guys are now. So when you kind of fast forward to today, from your perspective, kind of what are the challenges that IPS and your commercial fire line with that growth and kind of with that learning curve and the success that you've had up till now? What kind of are the challenges that you're looking at today?
So our number one biggest challenge today is finding talent, good talent, to stay with the pace of our growth. We're finding that less and less people are wanting to get into the trade, and so we're big on training, and we train no matter what. We're training our existing guys, we're training new guys, whatever we can to develop talent, and then we're always recruiting, even when we're not looking to hire. We're always looking to hire. If the right guy came along, even if we're full, we would probably hire. So that's the number one thing right now for us. And then I would say also in the construction world, when you're doing a ground up construction build and putting fire alarm in, the timelines are getting condensed. Speed up the construction build, and so the pressure on fire alarm, which is always at the end and always so crucial because they want their CO, and it's depending on the fire alarm getting tested, you're getting left with a day to, and sometimes take a high rise and get it tested and programmed. I mean, some unrealistic timelines to get your system working well. So managing that and working with a customer to make sure their expectations are met and handled so that everybody's happy at the end, and we have enough time to do a good job and not upset anybody. And then kind of along that whole thing, as we grow, and we're kind of at that point too where we're adding more processes and procedures, it's maintaining our culture so that, policies and procedures don't get in the way of our family culture. So those three things kind of for us right now are our challenges.
So you mentioned the wonderful world of construction, and especially new construction. So kind of a little bit in that vein, as you're kind of surveying the market right now from your standpoint, kind of interested in 2 points of view. Number one, are there particular market segments out there that you see as are really growing, and kind of things that you're targeting? And kind of the reverse of that, are there market segments out there that you see as declining or not really worth the time and investment and the trouble of going after anymore?
Yeah, so let's start with growing. I think mass notification is really taken off, and we're seeing lots of opportunity in that segment. So we've been concentrating in lots of areas. We've been seeing a lot of our existing customers upgrading and doing things in that area, especially with all the workplace shootings that you see. People are asking us to do things in that area. So big concentration for us in that arena. And then with landlines going away, cellular monitoring is big. I mean, we're finding it easy to go in and replace landlines with cellular monitoring, and then upgrade. It helps upgrade our RMR too. You go from a couple $100 in monitoring to a cellular account plus the monitoring. It's an easy way to grow your RMR business. So those two areas in growing. As far as declining, I think from our perspective, the smaller work is becoming way more competitive. I see the manufacturers, and they've been doing this for a while, they're making it easier to put in. I think it kind of ties back into what I was saying before about, harder to find people to do the work. it's kind of catch-22. They're making it easier for people to do the work. So you're seeing two guys in a truck getting in the business, maybe ECs doing this work. So the smaller buildings, the margins have been dropping consistently, and it's making it very difficult for us to win that kind of work. So we're not totally leaving that, but we're definitely winning less, and at some point we're going to have to make some hard decisions whether we even bid on that kind of stuff in the future, or at least take a different approach where we're going to have some RMR tied to it if we go after it.
You had mentioned a little earlier about the compressed timelines, especially on new construction with trying to get the fire system with maybe a day or so to go. And that brings up a subject that a number of folks are always looking for kind of best practices on, and that's the interaction with the local fire marshal or the local AHJ. And you guys have such a pretty wide footprint. I'm just assuming you deal with a wide variety of folks that are in that role that you have to interact with and work timelines out. So just kind of, not specifically, but more in general, how does IPS go about your interaction with the different fire marshals or AHJs out there?
Sure. I mean, we try to have, we want relationships with those guys and gals. I mean, we do our best to do lunch and learns. We've gone as far as to have classes that have CEUs tied to them, invite them in. Really, any interaction with those guys and gals, we want to treat them like kings and queens. Even when they're adversarial, you might win the battle, but you're going to lose the war. Really, just whatever you can do to help educate and keep them informed ultimately is going to help your business. I think they're always just they really want to know more, and they're not always given the opportunity to have those classes or opportunities to learn. So when they have them, they soak them up. So when we invite them to all the different things we can. We'll invite manufacturers in to do them for us and feed them lunch, and they usually eat that stuff up.
Fantastic. So kind of last question for you here, Andy. When, if somebody is thinking about getting into the commercial fire, maybe they've got an existing business, this is kind of something they've been kind of looking at, and they're thinking, okay, maybe this is something that might be right for us. From your point of view, just in general, what advice would you give to folks that are kind of thinking about maybe jumping into the deep end of the pool regarding commercial fire?
Sure. Well, I do think it's a great business. I don't think it's going away. I think it's strong. I wouldn't say it's recession-proof. I think it's recession-resistant. So I would say if you do it, I would definitely diversify and do some other things like security or suppression or something related. So don't just do fire. And then when you do it, I would, our philosophy is you hire the best people you can. You empower them to do their jobs. You pay them the best you can. Get the hell out of their way. It's pretty simple, really, and it works. Some of the things I always give advice. My mentors gave it to me, and I pass this along to anybody who will listen. Join a networking group. Join a group like a Vistage or a peer group of some kind, PSA, somewhere you can go to share best practices and trade secrets. I don't know where they have, local chambers have them. Find the right one for you and use it. Train no matter what. Make your business the best possible place to work. RMR and demand service is king. I mean, like I said earlier, we made a big mistake on not jumping on that early. We wasted a few years early, and that hurt us. And if you do those things, I think you'll be successful. Set your goals high. Yeah, I'll also say that. Set them really high. If you fall a little short, you'll still be happy.
Well, it sounds like absolutely solid advice, and certainly your business model has certainly proved to be a winning success as well. Andy, if anybody is listening here, maybe in the Cincinnati, Columbus area or in that footprint, and they're thinking they might want to do some business with you, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you or with IPS?
Sure. So our phone number is 513-631-5505. We're also at integratedprotection.com. Check us out either way.
Well, fantastic. Andy, I just want to thank you again for sharing that information with us. It echoes a lot of what a number of the other folks that we've been talking to have said in terms of really, being pro-business and pro-employee and that work-life balance. Certainly the RMR component is something that we hear of an awful lot as well. And for today, that's going to do us. I certainly want to thank, again, Andy Boyd with IPS for chatting with us from an integrator point of view regarding commercial fire. As always, stay tuned to this channel, and we'll have another interview with yet another fascinating individual and another great point of view regarding the growing your business in commercial fire. Thanks again, and have a great day. 3, 2, 1, and we're out. Awesome. Well, Andy, that was excellent. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you having me. It was easy.
Let's see. Let me just... One of those guys find it very hard to do two things at the same time, so I'm saving this recording because I won't say who, but the first interview